Hello everybody. Today's video is going to be about College 101. I've had so many questions and requests um, asking me to make videos about college admission and college process. This may be useful for people who are in high school. This may be also useful for parents who want to know the general idea of education, college education in this country. So before I go into this video, I want to ask you all to subscribe to my channel and also share the videos with your family and friends who are on the same boat, or if they are actually in middle school and they are looking to find information. There are so many people who have reached out to me asking me to make videos with subtitles. I can do that, but I would rather have it in both languages because I will be able to reach out to a broader audience who speak multiple languages. So, coming to the topic today, College 101. The reason I want to name this as College 101 is because I want to give you an overview of the entire college process from the time you decide what to do till the time you go and accept your college admission. After this, we will be answering questions. Whatever you have, you can post it in this video, or if we may even break this into two parts. So if that's going to happen, then you can post your questions and we will do a series of Q&A. I will just give you an overview of this because I would like to interact with people and see what you want, and then based off of that is how I want to drive this entire series. Now my oldest son, he's going to college. He has already accepted his college admission, and you will be, if you have been with me, you would have watched us take tours and you would have been with us in this entire journey, and then you're also going to see what's going to happen and how he moves in and everything. That is all coming as a in my general series. Okay, so now let's get into the topic. First is you have to come up with a college list. College list is the first thing that you need to make, which comprises of the list of colleges you possibly would want to go. There will be three different sets of colleges. One is your target college, one is a reach college, and one is a hard to get college. There is also one other category that's easy, which means like based on your own GPA and your own credentials, you will get into those colleges for sure. Those are called safety colleges. We don't have to worry about those safety colleges because you will get into those colleges no matter what. These are the colleges where acceptance rate is almost 90 or 100% acceptance rate. So those colleges would be something near you, which means it could be a community college, it could be a state college, or it could be even your state university. Sometimes state universities are pretty liberal when it comes to acceptance. We live in California. I've heard that people who live in California and people who live in New York and some states, there are a lot of colleges which are on demand. And lately, everybody is going into college a degree. Earlier, this wasn't the case. I want to take this reference to the Indian population that have moved here. We are coming from a place where we have college degree as a basic requirement. So we will make sure that our first generation child who was born and raised here or who is living here will need a minimum degree when they start their career. So this is our expectation. When it comes to a non-Indian, here high school diploma is more than enough for them to start their life, and then they will decide if they want to go to college or not. Why I'm saying this is because this will decide the type of colleges you want to go to. This will decide your college list. And there is an important factor, finance. The finance will also decide your college list. So in our case, we decided that Tavin will take a tour of all the colleges that are nearby and also that were not in this town, in this state. We took him outside too, and then we allowed him to make the list. So out of the entire choice that was given to him, he decided that he did not want to go out of state, which means he wanted to stay within California. So that actually narrowed down our entire list to just UCs. We have 9 UCs and we have about 20 23 colleges, state colleges. There are also many community colleges, which is community college is nothing but a college which is in your locality. Every city or every 2 3 cities will have a community college in your area. So we'll come to the community college topic a little later. So now that's how we came up with the list. We came up with a list of UCs. So that actually added nine. We wanted him to apply to all the UCs. So all 9 UCs were on our list, and then a few few state colleges based on the degree he was going to apply to. So first is the college list. We are done with that. Next, second, college tour. As soon as you start high school, as early as ninth grade, you can go and tour these campuses. You don't have to wait until you go to your senior year or junior year to start this process. If you are in the area, if you have a chance to go and visit these colleges, you can go and take these college tours, and these are free. You go to the college website, any college website, any university website, and look up college tour. They will have specific time that is available. These are guided tours. There are also regular self-guided tours where you can drive around. Every campus is an open campus. You can go and drive around and see what is there and what is not there, and if you like the feel of it. This is very important because the child will understand whether they will be able to live there, enjoy the campus, and this is going to be their home for the next 4 years of their life. So that is something that the child must understand. If you are a very dominating parent and you want to make that choice for your child, then you take the tour, you lead the child accordingly. It is not wrong to do that. It's okay, because sometimes children will not have the capacity to decide on their own. So you lead the way and you see what will be the best fit for your child based on the money you have and based on the proximity of the place. So you cannot just imagine, oh, my child, Hawaii is beautiful, so my child will go and study in Hawaii. No, that will not happen. That may not happen unless you have some connection there and you absolutely want your child to go there. Or if the child absolutely wants to go there, then that's what makes sense. So this college tour will also help you make a list. It will help you narrow down the list. Coming to the third point, college major. So there is a big gap between us who have moved here as immigrants in understanding. There is a gap in understanding this concept of picking a major. In India, we have very few majors. So if it is engineering, it's only one engineering. And then we have several departments inside that engineering. If it is going to be a business degree, then it is either BCom, or then after BCom, they will go and do MBA, and that's about it. In medical, there is only MBBS. That's it. Here, it's not the case. There are multiple majors and multiple pathways where a child can start their journey and end elsewhere. There is no right and wrong way here. So, when you start picking a major, you need to, let's say, for example, let's start business. Okay, I will take business major. So, there is business administration, there is business management, there is business analyst. Business managerial economics is also a business degree. So let's say, for example, I will take business administration. I will go on for the whole episode, I want to take California as an example, but this applies to all the states. Okay, so if you are in another state, just go do it in your own states. Add that keyword and you look it up and you will have the same thing. So let's go to UC, and in the UC page, if you look up majors, University of California majors, a link will populate. In that link, you can go and type business, and it will show you all the business degrees that are available, all the majors that are available. So you will pick one of those majors and then see which campus has that course. If you don't know what you want to do, then you can go in as undeclared, which I don't recommend. I recommend you to pick any degree major. Undeclared is something that is going in like how would I put it politely? Like if you don't have a direction towards your career, that's when you have to go in undeclared. Or if you want to do medicine and then you don't know if you're going to clear MCAT, but you still want to try and be in a good university, then you go in as an undeclared student. And then eventually, because for medicine, you have to do some biology courses and basic general ed courses. It can be any degree. You can have any degree. Same with law. You can do any degree as your first 4-year degree, and then you will go into your pre-med. So in that case, undeclared will work. But if you have a career in mind, then undeclared is not something I would recommend you to do. So when you pick majors, going back to University of California website, so you will see those majors and you will pick that first choice. So I am picking business administration as my first choice. So there is going to be another column on the right side which is called alternate major. So you have to pick a second major, because if this first major is full, if it is impacted, then your second major will come into play. Which means if there are a lot of applicants in that first major and you are still eligible to join the college, but there is not enough room in that particular major, your second choice will be put into place. This year I saw a pattern. I'm talking this in 2024. I saw a pattern with computer science. Lot of students wanted to go into computer science degree or computer science engineering, but they did not get through. Whereas the students who applied for data science and software engineering, they got in, or degree in just computer. I think it is computer programming, or there are so many other names for these courses. So all these courses will come under the computer science degree. One August 1st is when this application will open for all UCs. Every other state, please go and check your respective universities. So during this process, your child will go and create a login, and when you go in, without even submitting the form, you can go actually all the way to the end to see what are the options that are available. You will be able to explore the entire college application process and the form without even finishing it and submitting it. So don't worry, you can go ahead and do that. This is where I want to plug in one of the recommendations that I always go to is on YouTube. Go and look up University of Santa Barbara's. I'll put the thing here. There is a playlist. University of Santa Barbara made a beautiful set of videos for us to go and refer as to how we should make this, how we should carry forward with this application process. So the University of California, they have their own application process. It's one application for all 9 universities. So you will just do one application for it, and all 9 universities will be there listed in that as a bulletin point, and you will select each university. And when you select each university, that's when the major selection will be there. First, there will be one set of primary major, and then there will be a set of alternate majors that you have to pick for each campus. So 9 universities, you will have 9 majors, primary majors, and 9 alternate majors. Some universities will have that particular subject in that particular same topic, and sometimes they may have it under a different name. For example, psychology will not be psychology. It will be under behavioral science, it will be under brain science, it will be under neuroscience, or it will be under occupational psychology with concentration on occupational therapy, psychology with concentration on brain science. So they have different names. So this is just like, end of the day, these students are going to learn the same exact thing. When they take this particular major, they are going to take the same exact thing and they will learn the same exact thing. It's just that university decides to call it under a different name. That is why there is a difference. Okay. At this point, I also want to add that if you are going to go into a department, a science department, you will not be allowed to switch into a computer science department or an engineering department or a business department. This is a new rule that they have made because of the demand. This year, I came to know that you are not allowed to switch from one department to another department, but you are allowed to switch majors within the department, provided there is enough room and you are able to keep up with the GPA and whatever requirements they have for the switch. This will happen only after the child goes into the college. Okay, you cannot do that before. First of all, you need the seat, you need the admission, right? After that is when you will be able to do all this extra modifications and customizations once you go in. So when you apply, that's one method. So now I want to add one, I want to give you a tip. If you want to go to a very popular college, pick a course that is not popular. If you want to go to a very, if you want to go and do your own degree that is very popular, go to a not so popular college. If you go to a not so popular college, there will not be much of a demand, but you'll get to do what you want to do. But if you go to Berkeley and you want to go and do computer science and you don't get in, you will not get in because there is demand. It's a popular course, it's an impacted course. You will not get in because that is how they have. See, every university they have different criteria. One more thing I've learned is 50% of this entire college process is luck. Another 20% is your credentials. Another 30% is based on the availability of the seat in respect with the demographics you're coming from. You have to be a male, or you have to be a female, or you have to be a bisexual, you have to be from a certain country, from a certain religion, a certain race. If you are a first generation college goer, then you get a criteria. If you are a sports person, then you get another seat. If you are specially abled, then you get another seat. So they have different buckets of people, where different buckets for different kind of people. This is a criteria that's been followed at every single place. Wherever I've gone, wherever I've seen, whoever I've spoke to, there is no rational decision that has been made, at least from my standpoint. There is a child who has everything on their resume but did not get into a good university, but there is a child who did averagely, they did an average job and they still got in. Maybe they have something unique, or maybe the university is looking for that specific niche of a person. So we don't know, we really don't know how they are picking these students. So don't worry, it's okay. And every child will get admitted in at least one of these universities for sure. They will not be declined. They will not say, oh, you cannot come to my university. No, don't worry about that. So don't, first of all, going to college is an experience. It's not like your victory trophy. You don't have to hold it like that, because you don't know whether you're going to complete it in the next 4 years. After 4 years is when you'll know whether you're going to get the trophy or not. So getting this admission is only the first step to success. That's how you're supposed to project it. So when you do that college selection, right? After you pick the college, then you pick the major. Like I said, keep in mind, if you want to go to a popular college, and if you have the chances, if you think you have the chances, go for it. Otherwise, pick a course that is not so popular and you go with that choice. It's okay. At least you will be in the college where you want to go to. Like if it's a popular college and you want to go to Berkeley, great, you may get in. If not, have 2-3 backups. That is when this first, I gave you some criteria, right? Reach college, target college. So the reach is like you're going to reach it. Reach is, you'll be able to reach it also, which means you have the GPA enough. I mean, you have the marks and you have the credentials for it, and you'll be able to reach it. If you want to go to a target college, the target will be like a beyond your reach. So it is going to be a tougher college to go to. That set of college is where you'll put this Berkeley. I'm taking Berkeley as an example. Okay. So now you decided that you want to go to Berkeley. So what will be the backup? So the backup will be, you will go and find out if you have those particular degrees in that particular university, wherever the other university. So for example, cognitive science. Cognitive science is not available everywhere. It's only available in few colleges and few universities. So it will narrow down our list automatically. Same way, whatever degree you pick, it will narrow down your list automatically. This is for UCs. But if you are out of state, you don't have to worry. You'll probably have only 1 or 2 universities near you, and you won't have a bigger choice to pick from, which is actually a good problem to have. If you have too many choices like us, it's a bigger problem to deal with, because you have to first eliminate the colleges which you don't want to go to. So that is one thing. In the meantime, on the side, you have to take the SATs and the SAT or ACT exam. Until Tavin's batch, they did not ask for this ACT or SAT scores. But nowadays, I think they are asking. And private colleges, they've always asked for it. So if you've already taken your course, your ACT and SAT exam, then it's good. Go ahead with it. You can submit the whatever marks you have, and then you can start the application process. Most juniors would have already taken the course, taken the test. If you are a senior and you have one coming in October, you will still have time until end of November to submit your form. So you still have time to submit your score. So SAT and SAT or ACT is what is required. What I found interesting was after Tavin got his college admission, after he joined the college, after he accepted the admission, the college reached out to him and asked him to send his SAT or ACT score, with which they determined whether he is eligible to skip the English course that they must do in the first year. So this is something that was very interesting for me. Same thing with math. Most colleges will ask for this SAT or ACT score, and they will allow the child to skip the course and go to the next level of the course. So this is where ACT and SAT are coming into play. When it comes to outside universities, out of state universities, I think no matter what, they will still collect it. I don't think that is part of the decision making process. I think they are also using it for the same, they're using it as a scale to see where the child stands in the grade, in the subject math and in subject English. That's all I think was that's. I think that's the information I was able to gather until now. Nobody else has given me otherwise. If somebody else has an experience with it, please share with me. Because after COVID, the weightage that's given to SAT and ACT score has changed. And as far as California is concerned, I think they are trying to come up with their own test. Each university is coming up with their own test. For Tavin, as soon as he accepted his college admission, he had to take a math test and a chemistry test within the university. So it was conducted by his university. It is an independent test, and he had to take the test and he had to clear it to be able to skip or go to the next level in the same subject. And they also use that score to give him placement in his science subject, because he's going into a science major. So that is one thing. So now at this point, I also want to add, let's say your child is doing a pathway in a school. For example, they are doing a computer science course, or if they're in high school, I mean, if they're doing a computer science course, if they're doing a biomed course, if they're doing engineering course, this will not influence their admission process. Don't worry. My son did a business pathway and he is going into a computer science, going into cognitive science major. So we don't even know whether he's going to come out with a cognitive science degree. He may change throughout the course of it. He may change his mind, for which I am ready as a parent. But if they are doing business in school and if they are going to apply for some other major, they may get it. I think they will get it, because I have an example at home who did not do anything in science, but he got into a science degree. So this is one information that I thought I should give, because there is some misconception thinking that, oh, if a child does biomed, only then they will go into biomed. No. I know somebody who did a business pathway and they have applied and they got into biomed pathway now in college, biomed major in college right now. And somebody who takes biomed major may not complete biomed and come out as a doctor. They may drop midway. There is an option for that, because if it is tough, it's okay. You can stop, take a break, change your course, and then you will get a job and you will be successful regardless of whatever you do. The first step into the college is already a success. That's all. That's how you're supposed to see this. Okay. Now let's come to the college application process. Like I said, please look up Santa Barbara, University of California, Santa Barbara's YouTube channel. Go onto their page. We'll put it here. They have a playlist where they have explained every step of the way of a college application form. You just have to follow that. As far as this is for University of California, for California state colleges, CSUs, they also have similar. There is an explanation where you can go ahead and see how they do it. They have their own YouTube channel, and every single college will have their own version of college filling and college application process, and they have their own Q&A and everything. That is, there's tons of material and tons of information available outside. Okay. So you go there and do your own research and see how every step of the way is going to be placed, and you will have enough time to fill the form, because the form opened on August 1st, and you will have time until November 30th to fill this form. You have enough time, the child has enough time to come up with whatever they need to write. So now let's go into the essays. We call it prompts. These people here, they call it prompt, they don't call it as essay. So as far as UCs are concerned, there are 8 questions that will be given to you, which is public knowledge. It is not a secret, everybody knows this question. Your child will pick 4 out of the 8, and they will decide what they want to write, and they will fill that part of it based on what they want to present about themselves. It has to be original. It has to come from their heart. It has to represent them. It cannot be a version of you. If you do that, they will find out. Universities will find out, and they will know if we plagiarize, if you use Grammarly, if you use ChatGPT, if you use any of these AI tools, they will know that you have not put in the effort. They are not going to come back to you and say that, oh, you did this. No, they will just reject. They're not going to say, oh, I will give you a chance to rewrite it. No. So please be truthful. Even if it is the crappiest answer, let them do it on their own. Let them put their heart and mind out, so that the university will see what they are and who they are and how they have evolved into this student they are. Okay. So that is called prompts and essays. So you can Google these prompts and essays, and you will get all the possible questions and answers possible. You can even go and see the previous answers from other students. But I will tell you, do not copy, do not take inspiration from somebody else. Let them be original. This is something that I want to tell 100 times, because this is very important for a child to be able to express themselves. Do not taint them. We are so used to like coaching them, right? So step away. It's okay. Let them do whatever they want to do. Next, there is something called Naviance. Every high school will use this tool called Naviance. You please go ahead on YouTube and look up Naviance, and they have, not only on YouTube, even on their website, Naviance website, they have a list of um, instructions. They have, it's not like it's like a PDF where you can go over how to fill these forms, and this form will, the high school counselors will guide your child to do that. Naviance is used for your child to organize the list of colleges they want to go to, and the counselors will go on Naviance and see what they have applied, where they have applied to, and the counselors will be able to send your transcripts based on your list to wherever they have. Your child will decide. It's a tool between your child, the counselor, and the college. Okay, so this is Naviance. This is something you have to know. Then comes Common App. Common App is another general app which is used for applications, to consolidate all your application forms for private universities and out of state universities. So if you are considering out of state, if you are considering private universities, private colleges, you have to use Common App. Common App also, they have their own YouTube channel. They have everything in a detailed video. Multiple videos are available. They also have a FAQ section where you can go and see all the answers to the frequently asked questions. And you have enough guidance, enough and more on their channel. Please go and take a look at that Common App. Then comes the FAFSA. FAFSA is the Federal Student Aid website. This is a federal agency, a government agency, which will collect information from parents. You will be required to fill this form regardless of your financial status. Whether you're going to take the loan, whether you're going to accept the financial aid, whether you're getting scholarship, whether you're rich, whether you're poor, whether you're on the road, whether you're homeless, whether you have a home, they don't care. If you want to go to college, you have to fill the FAFSA form. Only one parent is required to fill the form. Both parents need not fill the form. If your child is going to go and apply to college and go to college as an individual without your support, then the form has a different route. And if they are going to go with your support, then the form will have a different route. So on their FAFSA YouTube channel and their website, they have a detailed PDF which explains every point and every question. So please go over it, and you will be able to fill those forms. And this will happen sometime in December or January after your application process has ended. So let me give you a quick recap of the timeline. In the summer or in the years before your senior year, fall of senior year, you, which means 12th grade, before your 12th grade starts, in that summer you will make a list. You will make a list of colleges, you will make a list of the majors, and you will also make a list of the alternate major that you will go to. In that, you will segregate the colleges based on the college where you want to go, the college you may get in, the college you will definitely get in, and the college is your whatever your dream college that can also be on the list. Okay, nothing harm in applying. So these four things you will be getting ready, and financially you need to be aware of how you are going to pay for your college, and if you will be eligible to afford college. If you are not going to be able to afford college, then it is going to be a different topic. You have to think about it and then decide whether you will be able to afford it. Affording college, in the sense, it's not just the fees, accommodation. If they are going to go out of state, they have to fly. You have to pay for their flight ticket. You have to bring them there. So those things matter too. Now, so that is the first set of timeline. As soon as the school starts, August 1st, before the school starts, application process will open. All these websites will be live. So you will start filling out all these forms. By end of October and November, you will start submitting these application processes. For University of California, like I said, there's only one application, which is UC application. You will submit it. When you fill and check the box, each college, I think it's $80 is $80 or $85 is the price for each university. So if you check mark those colleges, it will add up and you will pay somewhere in the range of 7,200. So not 7,200, $720, I think, or 750, in that range. And every private university will be somewhere in the range of 100 to 300, depending on how much they want you to pay for. Sometimes it's application process, sometimes it's the processing fee. And mind you, all these bills that you're going to get, these are all non-refundable. You're not going to get your money back. So if you have to apply for 10 colleges, 10 times $100, forget the 1,000, you're done. Okay, so set aside some $3,000 for college application. And when I say that you need this kind of money, is from College Board. College Board website is where you will have all your SATs, ACT, and all the tests that you have taken, all the AP courses you have done in the past. Those things will be available. And if you have to send this transcript to your college, each college will require you to send one copy directly, and each time it will cost you $15. So if you have to apply for 10 colleges and if you have to send it to all 10 colleges, then please keep in mind that you have to spend another times 10 in this. And same way, if you are taking any courses from a local community college, they have to send the transcript directly from that community college to whichever institution you are applying to. That also will range from $10 to $30. Each application will cost you $10 to $30, where they have to send the transcript directly. They will not accept paper documents or PDF or anything from you through email. That is not valid. It has to come directly from them. So keep that in mind. So that's why I'm saying set aside $3,000 for application process. It is a little bit on the larger side, but it's okay to have more than less. So keep 3,000 separately. Okay. Now, when I say non-refundable, it will be mentioned in every application process. But sometimes they will ask you to pay a supplemental fees or a supplemental essay fee if they come back to you for a second chance. So let's say they go over your essay. They're saying, oh, everything is good. Sainthavi did so many courses. She did so many volunteering and everything. But I need more from Sainthavi. I think something is missing from her. Sainthavi, why don't you convince me? I have your application on hold. And convince me that why I should give you this seat. So they'll come back to you and ask you to send in a supplemental essay. So that time they will send you a set of questions where you will have to write. Most cases it will be free, but sometimes and some universities may ask you to submit a small processing fee, or depending on that. So all that will come in your $3,000. Okay, so keep that money separately. When you do this application process, when you submit this application, you need to keep in mind that your decision will come in the spring, the following spring, March, April, May. This is when you're going to get the results. But some universities, for example Purdue, they have early decision. Some private universities will have early decision option, which means they will give you the result in December and you have to accept it. If you sign up for early decision, you have to accept the decision if you get in. If they say no, you did not get into Purdue, well and good, bye. Move on to the next one and you will go ahead and you will decide whether you want to go to a next choice. But if you are signing up for early decision and if you have gotten into that, you have to accept that. That is the rule when you sign up for early decision. When you make the application form, you will be able to see that clause and you will understand. I'm sure you all will be very thorough when you read the application form. So early decision is an option. This, I recommend this for students who are a little bit insecure, and if they are scared that they may not get in and they want to have a safety net ready, then you can go for early decision and then you can accept it and not worry about anything else and move on. Some Ivies like Stanford, um, Yale, and Harvard, they will give you time until January to send your application form. So they all have different timelines because everybody is a private institution. They make their own rules, they make their own norms. So I personally would not recommend children to go into that high stressed environment. Don't think I'm discouraging it, but I'm just saying that if a child goes into a college which is in within their reach, they will be able to shine more and shine better and shine easily with less pressure, and they'll come out with a very optimal result. It's a nice optimal result is what they will get, is what I think. I could be wrong, maybe sometimes you will think, oh, why you want to discourage them from aiming high, but that's just my thought process. I don't want to put the children under that pressure. They're already going through a lot of things. So now early decision is done. Coming to our March decision. Most colleges, like state universities, will roll out their results in March. They'll start in March, then you will get March, some colleges, and then mid-March, you will get UC results. They'll start rolling out. And all these will be listed out. As you go through this process, you will come to know from their own website. You'll receive emails saying that, oh, results are coming out, please be ready. Please, keep in mind that so and so is releasing this date here. So every university have their own website. You will have to go on to their own website and log in and check. Each university, even though application form was separately sent together, the results will come. Yeah, the results will come on their own portal. Every university, they have their own portal. So between this result and the application submission process, the colleges will send you an email individually saying that they have received your application. Please claim your login. So that is when you know for fact that, okay, my application is already in there. They know who is Sainthavi. They're just analyzing my application process and they will. So in that time, you will make a spreadsheet, okay? Make a spreadsheet, places where you have applied to, places where you have gotten the login, how to log in and the password. Keep it in a spreadsheet. Make the student do this. And then make a column for decision, accepted, waitlisted, declined. Keep it ready. So, and then once you know the dates, you can even put the dates there and say, okay, so and so is sending the result on March 1st. This university is sending on March 29th. So somebody is doing it in April. So you can keep an eye and keep a track of it. And this is when your child will have peace of mind thinking, okay, I will get my first level of colleges in this week and then the next week and then the week after that. So this is all during the spring of senior year. Okay. If you are a junior or a sophomore or a 10th grader, you will be taking your SAT and ACT during this fall time. You will not wait until the summer, or you will not wait until your senior year starts. Parents whose children are in who are in 10th grade and 11th grade, please make sure they at least take one SAT or ACT before this time, so that it is just a, they don't have to like get 1500 or 1600. They can get whatever they want to get. It's just the scale for them to know where they stand in this entire their education process. They are not going to compare this with somebody else. It's their own measurement scale. Okay. Then comes the acceptance. Last year they changed the acceptance date because there was some glitch in the FAFSA. So we had time until June to send in our acceptance. But generally, May 15th or May 1st is when you will have to send your acceptance, which means, let's say Sainthavi is offered admission in UCLA, Berkeley, and Santa Barbara. But Sainthavi wants to go only to UCLA. What will I do? I will go and accept the UCLA application. It will say accept. So literally a green button. You will click accept. That means you are admitted. That's it. What happens to the other universities? Don't do anything. Let it be. They will automatically deactivate your account in the month of July. Why I am saying leave it there is because if they are going to put you on the wait list, there is a chance that you may hear back from Berkeley, or if you may hear back from Stanford, or you may hear back from Davis saying that, oh, I have a seat open. Do you want to come back? They will come back to you. If there is a wait list, you will get an email saying that there is a wait list. Do you want to join the wait list? You will click yes if you want to join the wait list. And some universities will ask for a supplemental essay there also for a wait list. If you want to prove, like for example, for Tavin, he got one letter saying that we need to hear more about your non-academic things that you have done. We have all your academic accomplishments, but we need an essay for all your non-academic, one more essay. He said, no, I don't want to apply. He said, no, I'm not going to go to wherever I have to go to, because he was happy with whatever he got and he wanted to go to a specific college and he got it. So he did not want to go and waste his time, is what he told. Okay, so if a child is very clear about what they want to do, where they want to do, then it's easy. This process makes you easy. I also want to add that if you have more choices, it's going to be very difficult for them to pick. So it will be a big decision that you have to help them make. 90% of the time, as a parent, you will have a lot of peer pressure. You, not the child, you. Your friend's child will go here and there and they will have acceptance from all over the place. It's okay. End of the day, they will attend only one college. They cannot attend all the colleges and they cannot do all the degrees. They can only do one degree. So no matter how many acceptances they have on their hand, doesn't matter. End of the day, where are they going to go to? I have seen families where they have gotten into a good college and another mediocre college, but the mediocre college gave them 35,000 scholarship and they made their decision towards that because the finance looks better. I would do the same thing. If I'm getting $35,000 somewhere to do my degree, why will I not take that? I will ditch the other one and I will go here because I have more money, which is free money. 35,000 is a lot of money. So sometimes if a child has a better offer and they still want to go and do something in a place where finance makes that decision for them, it's okay. So based on that, you will be able to pick. And this wait list will expire. So sometimes they will give you an option to get on the wait list, and once you are offered, they will give you an expiration date to accept the waitlist offer. So if you don't accept it within that time, all this will be happening from mid-May to mid-June. Okay, by then you would have to make the decision, because if you say yes or no, that seat will become either available or unavailable. If you say no, then that seat will be opened up to the next person who is on the wait list. So you need to keep that in mind and then go ahead and make the decision. And when you are planning for vacation during that time, please keep in mind that most colleges will have orientation, parent orientation and student orientation over the summer. So please make sure there is an option for that. And if you are not going to be in town, make sure there is an option for them to attend over Zoom or virtually, or if they have a makeup date. It is very important that they have to be available for that. So after the acceptance, just don't think, okay, I got my seat, I'm going to Hawaii, I'm not coming back for 2 more months. No, that's not how it works. You have to make sure you plan out the entire summer and see where they stand and what are the things that are supposed to be done immediately following that. After the acceptance is when the FAFSA will start their work. FAFSA is the federal student aid given by the government. FAFSA will not give you money if you are above the cutoff level. So please go and look up the cutoff, income cutoff level. There is a cutoff level, and as soon as your student fills the form, they will be given an index, SAI index. In that index will decide how much money your child is eligible to receive. 90% of the time, children will get as less as 5,000 and maybe less than that. Not everybody will get like the full rate that they are talking about. Those things are offered by the universities. FAFSA is a government agency, a federal agency, and they are like a bank. They are actually a bank. They just don't want to call themselves a bank. So they will give your student a subsidized loan, which they don't have to repay until they are done with their degree. But they have to pay the interest. It is not cheap, it is expensive. Do the math. We will go into FAFSA in detail later, but this is what FAFSA is. And no matter what your situation is, you will have to do the FAFSA form, and your SAI will decide how much your student will get. So, if your student does not fall under the category, then they will be offered an unsubsidized loan, for which the loan amount is a little higher. The interest amount is a little higher, so you will have to pay that, and obviously it all depends on the income and the family situation and the whole finance that you have. Like if you have an asset, if you have a car, if you have two houses, if you have a bank balance, whatever is there available for them, that will all imply and affect their place where they have to receive this. So let's come to the grants, and they also offer grants. If your child, if you, I think you have to make 150K or less to be eligible to apply for those grants, and if you don't fall under that category, you will not be able to apply for those grants. Those grants are also not guaranteed. They may get it, they may not get it. These grants are free money which will be offered to people who are really in need. If you are homeless and if you have no place to go, the FAFSA will make arrangement for you to get a college admission. They will make sure you get accommodation in the university, and they will offer you a job where you will work and pay off your college tuition and your accommodation. This is available too. So if you want to study in this country, you can study. There are ways to do it, but you have to be under that poverty line where they will consider you as needy and then give you the help that is needed. Scholarship and merit scholarship will be offered by the university. After you go and accept your college offer, the university will decide, okay, this student has this many grades. I have a category where I can give you 2,000 here, I can give 8,000 here, I have 4,000 here. Those kinds of small scholarships will be offered based on their merit. This differs from university to university, college to college. So we will not know until they go and accept their offer. If they have, let's say, they have a sports skill, okay? If the college is going to think they need a basketball player and your child is an excellent basketball player, they will admit your child based on that skill, and they may even offer the child a full ride. In the sense, they will write off their entire tuition, but there is a catch. The student must play all 4 years for their team. They have to go and compete in all the levels. They have to participate in all. There are so many clauses. It's not free money will not come to you just like that, right? So you have to go ahead and accept this form, and they have criteria which will decide how you want to go further with that. If you are an out of state student, so let's say I'm applying to Purdue, and you're saying, oh, I'm in California, I can only afford 40,000 a year, I can't give more than that, then Purdue will talk to you and they will negotiate with you, and they will give you an adjustment. They will reduce the money to match our California's fees. They call it a scholarship. It's like Macy's sales. They will give you, they will mark up the price $25, and they will say, oh, it's only 19.99 today. That's scheme. One thing I have decided, one thing I've learned through this is college is expensive. No matter what, it is expensive. Whether you get scholarship, whether you don't get scholarship, doesn't matter. No matter what the situation is, it is expensive. Either they will get the money from you, or they will get the work from you, or they will make you work for them for a longer period of time under the contract, saying that they have offered you scholarship, and they will make sure that you are paying for it one way or the other. There is no two ways to this. Okay, so if they are going to go to college, you please plan to set aside 40,000 to 60,000 per year. Set aside that money and then start. Coming to bank loans, are they available? Yes, many institutions that are private will give you student loan. You can even get the home equity loan. If you have a home, you can refinance and take loan on your house. If you have a house, you have many other ways, which is as good as any other loan that you can do. Get it outside, you plan your own, you can do your own math. You can also take money from your own 401k. That is also available. If you want to do that, you can do that. If not, then you can make an arrangement with the college saying that you will make monthly payments. So some colleges will offer 8 payments per year, some colleges will offer 10 payments per year. You can make those monthly payments. Instead of paying one big chunk of 40,000, you will be paying 4,000 per bill, 4,500 or something per bill, and then you will be able to pay back that money so that it won't be a burden on your wallet. This is based on each university's financial aid department and billing department. You have to talk to them personally and make the decision based on your financial situation. If you are ready to pay that in one full stretch, good, go ahead and do that and forget about it. That's good too. And if you are planning to take a loan, let's say you're taking a FAFSA loan, there is a loan called Direct Plus loan for parents. Parent plus loan, sorry, not direct plus loan, parent plus loan. If you apply for that loan, I think the percentage this year is 9% interest, which is a lot. So, but still, if you're going to go ahead with the parent plus loan, you will be able to take that loan, and you can pay only the interest and save the money, the main principal, for later too. There are arrangements which you can do. This is all like any other bank loan. You just go talk to the service provider, and the service provider will be able to answer to all your questions. All this FAFSA loan and billing, everything will happen over the summer. June, July, August is when you will start your entire process of dealing with the finance part of it. Okay. 529 plan, there is something called 529 plan in California. I've seen people talk about it. I don't have one for my children, but you can start a 529 plan as when they are young. It is like a bank small installment payment account where you'll put some money, and that money you will be able to use only for their education in the future. But you can still set aside money in your own bank instead of putting it 529. If you have the discipline, you can do that too. So it doesn't matter, you don't have to go for that. They say it's tax-free money, but when you pull money out earlier than we are supposed to do it, then you have to pay a penalty. So for some people it may work, and for some people it may not work. But if your child is very young, I would highly recommend doing this 529 plan, because you'll be putting in small amount of money, and which by the time they are in college, with the unknowingly you would have accumulated some amount, right? Maybe not the entire amount, but some amount. There is a limitation of, I think, 7,000 or 6,500, which would go into that amount per year. You cannot like dump so much money into it thinking that it's a tax-free account. It's not like that. It's like HSA, where you have a limitation as to how much you can include and how much you can invest in this. Okay, this is the entire college process. This is how you will start your college application process, and how you will accept your admission and go to college. The after effect of getting admission, and how we are going to move our kid into the college, how we are going to pay for it, how we are going to uh, handle the emotional, you know, aspect of sending a child away to a college and having them deal with their own life as an adult. Those things are all very important. This college acceptance is only going to be very, it's a very small step. We are jumping so much for that process. No, this is the first step. The main part is only after they go and join into the college, and how you are there for them to help them carry it along the way. You have to carry them along the way to the finish line. So, you as a parent, don't put pressure when you are doing this process with them. Enjoy the process. Senior year is going to be the most happiest period of their life because they are almost an adult. They will have the freedom to do what they want to do, and they're going to go into a beautiful world where they will see so many people, so much of experience. I want to finish this video with one advice a lady gave to my son. She said, keep your mind open. Not everybody was raised like you. So you need to know that you have to be kind, you have to be open minded, you have to be grateful for the fact that you are here. And wherever you are going to go to, I am sure you are going to be very successful, and make sure that you prioritize your child's mental health more than anything else. That is the actual success, that is the actual trophy that you need. College process is going to be very, very, very stressful. So, parents, take it easy, share the load with them, and enjoy the process. All the very best to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you guys for watching this video.